Hello, fourth graders. Thank you for joining me today for Number Corner. It is super exciting because it is the first day of May. Well, it's actually the third day of May, but it is the first day of school that we are in May this year. So we have a brand new month of Number Corner. How exciting. So that means that we have a brand new game to play. So today we are playing Decimal Draw. Now, think in your head, maybe you could look at this chart. What do you think that means? Decimal draw. Well, maybe we're going to be drawing out some decimals. Let's jump into it. So what you're going to need is you are going to need your Number Corner student book. The Number Corner student book that you are going to turn to is page 94. So go ahead and grab that, and you're going to need something to write with. Now, it might be helpful to use two different colored pencils or markers here, but you could always do this assignment virtually if you wanted to. Either way, whatever works for you. So let's go ahead and let's jump into it. So with this game, what we are going to be doing here, it's essentially we are each going to be playing 4 rounds. And I'm going to draw, I have some of these decimal cards here, and I'm going to show you them right now. Here's what one of them looks like. So this is a decimal draw card. As you can see, it has one type right here, another type of the decimal draw card is like this. And sorry, I'm just pulling it up so I can fit another one in there. So we have those two like that, and then we have another one like this. So we have 3 different types of cards here that we can draw. We have a tenths, 100ths, and then we have a 100 block here. And as we can see, there are how many strips? 1, 2, 3 strips of 10. So this is 30 strips colored in. So, but anyways, we have these 3 different types of cards here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose, and I have a big deck here of a bunch of different cards. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw from my stack of cards, and I am going to basically use these as our tokens for today. So right now, I'm going to do an example. I'm going to pull one card, and it's going to be the student card. So it's going to be your, because I'm going to play an example game. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. So this card is going to be your card. So I picked 62 out of 100, 62 hundredths. So what I'm going to do, I have my decimal draw game board here. Now, if you notice, this number line is going from 0 to 1. So that means that we are going to have to place in between that. Well, if you think about it, this square right here, there is 100 squares on this square, which that equals 1. So if we ever have something that is less than 100 squares, it is going to be less than 1, which all of them are going to be. So essentially, remember the number that I just pulled? It was 62 100ths. Let's think about where would that go? Well, 62 100ths, I know that 62 100ths, that means that I have like 6 rows of 10 filled out. 3, 4, 5, 6. And when I think about the 6 rows of 10, that means that I'm going to have at least 60. So that means I can think about, okay, 10 or 62 100ths. Each of these amounts, 10, 20, 30, 40, each of those numbers is in the tenths place value, and the 0 is in the hundredths place value. So if we have 62 100ths, that means that I'm going to have right here 6.6 or 6 tenths, and then I'm going to draw my line for 62 100ths. And then I'm going to think, here's a fraction. How do I write that as a decimal? All right, well, how I write it as a decimal is I'm going to write it as 0 and 62 1/100th because the place value that is in shows me what my amount is. So then that was your score. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down and I'm going to put down the student score. All right, so I have my card here. What I'm going to do is I actually have this right here, which has all of the numbers in a random pack. So I just drew this card. Okay, so I picked this card and it's on the teacher's side now. So as you can see, this card is a 100 array block or 100 unit block. And with this unit block here, I can tell that there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows of 10 filled in. Now that means that I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have 7/10 filled in right here. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make that line as straight as possible. I'm going to write 7/10 because I could represent it like that, or I could represent it as 70/100ths. And then the decimal is going to be 0 and 7/10. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I'm writing this in my scoring box, 0 and 7/10. And what I'm going to do when I'm adding fractions is I'm going to make sure that I am able to make sure that my my decimal point is lined up with each number that I'm putting in here. So let me go, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do another round of card picking and I will be right back. Okay, so I had just picked this card for the student side. What do you notice on it? I notice that there are 1, 2 strips, which that means that it's 20 plus 1, 2, 3. So that means that I have 23/100ths. Now, if I represent that on my number line, I'm going to go to 20/100ths, and I'm going to count over. So it could be something like this. Let me get a different color. 20, I'm going to go about what I think would be 3, because remember, we estimate. I'm going to put that there. And so I think that that is going to be, as a fraction, I'm going to write that. It is going to be 23/100ths. And then the bottom is going, or then the decimal is going to look like 0 and 23/100ths, just like that. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add this to my box here. So 0 and 23/100ths. Then I'm going to do the same exact thing for the teacher side. So the teacher side, I have 41/100ths. So that means that I'm going to go to the 4 and I'm going to go over just 1/10 because it is 41/100ths. So I will write that right here. Now I'm going to write the fraction 41/100ths. Then I'm going to write the decimal point, which is 0 and 41/100ths, which I will then add to my number here. So what you notice is I do not have a 100th spot for this first number, but you always have to. It is a requirement. You have to line up the decimal points. And so it would look like this. And because there's nothing here, we can assume that there's a 0 when we add, because essentially what we are going to do is we are going to play 4 rounds of this each. So I'm going to go do that right now and I'll be right back and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, now as you can see, I have gone 4 rounds for each side, the student and the teachers. And as you notice, what I was able to do was I was able to put all of the amounts as decimals in both the scoring boxes. And I've also drawn them all out here. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and I'm going to add these all together. Now, if you again notice how I don't have my spot here. I don't have the number all the way over because the decimal points, they have to be in line. They have to be on top of each other, just like all of the tenths have to, all of the hundredths, and all of the zeros or ones. They all have to be in line with one another. And when I don't have space here, again, I can write 0. So if we add this all together, 0 plus 1, so that's going to be 1/100th. 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 5 is 15, plus 7 is 22. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the 2 there, and I'm going to carry the 2 in the ones spot. So then when I add all 0, 0, 0, 0, 2 is what I'm left with. And then when I add them, all I have to do is bring my decimal point down. So my answer for the teacher score is 2 and 21 hundredths. 2 and 21 hundredths. Now let's go ahead and do the student score, and then you're going to be good to go. So if we do the student score, 9 plus 3 is going to be 12. And then if we add 2, we get 14. Plus 5 is 19. So I'm going to draw a 9, carry my 1. I'm going to have 1 plus 6 plus 2 plus 2 is 4. Plus 3 is 14. So I'm going to have 4, carry that 1, and bring the 1 down. Now again, I bring my decimal point down because it is not 149, it is 1 and 49 hundredths. So as you can see, the teacher's cards were more than the student's cards. So here is what you are going to do. There are going to be 4 different cards on each side here once you get to your homework. You are going to do the same exact thing that I just did. You are going to play this game fully. And here is your score for where you put your scores. You do not have to put them in the scoring box. And once you have played and filled out all of these, then you are all set for Number Corner for today. So thank you for joining me, everybody. If you have any questions, join our math workshop this afternoon. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.